So before I begin, I would like to take a roll call vote of the Board of Selectmen. I am Robin Hunter, Chair, and I am present.
John Jeffries present.
Also with us this evening are Michael Blanchard, the Town Administrator, Chris Costello, the Assistant Town Administrator, Carl Valente, who is our Acting Finance Director. Did I get that right?
Okay.
Kyle Benoit, who is our Treasurer. And also, last but not least, Dave Havlin, our Assistant Moderator. And this evening, first, I guess I need to ask if there are any citizens' comments. There being none, I am going to move to the highlight actually of this evening's meeting. I am extremely pleased to introduce the town to Joe Vinci. Joe is our new police chief. He started the last week in January, right, Joe?
That's correct. Yes.
He comes to us from Westwood. I unfortunately missed what I understand was a wonderful pinning ceremony of the new chief. We are very excited to have him here and thought it would be a great opportunity for him to introduce himself to the community. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Joe.
Sure. Well, thank you everybody for having me. So I'm honored to be here and to be the new chief for the town of Dover. So I can just give a little bit about myself and where I want to take the Dover Police Department. So I worked in Westwood for almost 18 years. Started my career there, was there the whole time until I just made this move. So I had the opportunity to work with some great people there, and when this opportunity came up, I thought, if there's ever a job, this is the one that I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring. So went through the process and was fortunate enough to get hired. But I grew up in Westwood. I still live in Westwood. I have one boy at the high school. My oldest is already enrolled in college, so we're adjusting to life as a partial empty nester with one empty bedroom. So, but that's been good. And, I'm just excited to be at Dover and to lead the group of Dover officers at the department. It's a great group, as has been evident in my first 9 days. They've been great to work with already. They've been very welcoming to me, and I look forward to, accomplishing some goals and moving the department forward as the chief. And like I said, I'm just honored to be here and really excited to be in town and to get started and just get to work. So.
And as I said, we are thrilled to have you and look forward to seeing, where you take the department. And hopefully in a few months you can come back and, give us an update.
Sure.
You don't even have to accomplish a lot, but just let us know how things are going.
Absolutely. I would love to do that. Yeah. Anytime you guys are willing to have me, I will be here. So.
Okay. That sounds wonderful. John, do you have anything you'd like
Robin,
to
I just quickly will add that it was a real pleasure meeting your family. Joe, was your dad was he is a gem. I asked your wife if she, when you brought Joey to Notre Dame, if she cried from South Bend all the way back to Massachusetts.
Yeah. How did she answer that? I think it was probably the affirmative, wasn't it?
She said it took 2 days to get over the whole process. But I said, don't worry, he's your first. It will, that will pass. So she's going through a lot this month.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
So I said, we'll be extra careful to be nice to you and make sure that it all goes really, really easy the first month. But it was great to meet your family. It was a pleasure to meet your dad, your brother. I just shared with everybody how he did the pinnings through your entire career. It was a real testament to you, Chief, and everything that you did in Westwood. Robin, when Chris and I were just giving our opening remarks, when Michael and I were giving our opening remarks, the room was completely filled. and there were all the chairs were filled, and every member of our department that was off was there, and every sector, every group from Westwood had an officer there. So the back of the room was entirely filled with police officers. And I thought, well, if anything bad happens, I know where everybody is. So
Oh, you were thinking Dover is as safe as it's ever going to be at this moment.
exactly.
I believe someone said it was a good day to rob a bank in Westwood.
Yeah, I was really humbled by the turnout at that from, former colleagues. Some gentlemen I went to the police academy with that I hadn't seen in a while showed up. So it was a really neat thing. So I was thrilled with it. So, and thank you guys for hosting and, making that possible. I appreciate that.
And again, my apologies for not being in attendance.
Understood. No problem at all.
All right. Well, thank you. You may stay on the meeting. We will not take it personally if you leave. Most people do, but
Okay.
it's up to you. You
Yeah,
can go enjoy dinner.
Well, thank you all. Great
All
seeing
right.
everybody. Look forward to getting to work with you all going forward and to just start doing some great things in Dover. So thank you all. Have a great night.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. The next item of business is the ambulant rate discussion. And Kyle, I believe you're going to present this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you
Good
for
evening.
your attendance at the meeting. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you guys again. It's been a while since I've done one of
Right.
these, so I apologize if I'm a little nervous again. So it's been a while.
Oh, don't be
anyways,
nervous.
I try not to be. Environment.
You get used to it after a while.
I should show up more often, I feel like.
Right? If you like, we can have you do something once a month.
I'll be in with Chris. Chris and I can be buddies, and we'll show up every time. So.
Right. Okay.
Anyways, as far as this agenda item is concerned, we're going to be talking about the ambulance rates and discussion as far as what the recommended increase is going to be. For this one, I want to share my screen just for a PowerPoint. I apologize for any delays. There's been some technical difficulties using the old laptop.
It will just feel
sorry,
like,
Mona, are you able to let me share my screen?
I think it's Chris.
Hang on one second.
Oh, Chris, sorry.
I think you should be good, Kyle.
Okay. All right, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So again, for this agenda item, I made a quick presentation just to kind of go over the numbers and what the increased rates are going to look like as far as dollar amounts. So on this first PowerPoint slide, you can see, which is essentially what I added on that memo, which is the current charges now, and the proposed FY24 rates, and then the changes as far as dollar amount, and then the change for the percentage wise. And then on the far right hand side of the table, you can see the average of the ComStar municipalities and where Dover is at currently is in relation to the average. Is obviously 4.5 is where the Medicare recommended rates. So historically, that's what we've gone with in the past. So and again, we're a little behind as far as the average in comparison to other ComStar communities.
But I think over the last number of years, we've kind of closed the gap a little bit.
We'll try. So for this particular slide, I just wanted to show historical data as far as the increases go from obviously 2021 to 2024 with the proposed rates, and obviously the charges on the left hand side with the BLS, ALS, the mileage as far as those are concerned. And typically every year they've increased at an average of I want to say roughly around 5.5%. So going from year to year, it's either been 5 or 6 and this year obviously is 4.5. So these are just values as far as the numbers are concerned. And then for the next slide, as far as the recommendation goes, it's 4.5 is typically what I'm going to go with, just because we've done the recommended rates by Medicare in previous years, so that's what we're going to go with the recommendation. But as far as analytics go, I wanted to put together some alternative scenarios if we decide to increase it, based on not based on the Medicare rate. So for this one, I ran just a percent change, ran a scenario for 5.5 and then the 6.5%. And as you can see there, it shows the same exact data. And even with the increases on the percentages, we're still sort of, lagging behind as far as, catching up with the average again. So, just based on this table, you can see that we're, Dover as a whole is undercharging as far as billing is concerned. And out of curiosity, I was curious to see what percentage we'd have to charge to kind of catch up with the averages, and that turned out to be roughly around 12%. So
That's
if
a
we
big jump.
increase it, yes, I agree. And so if we increase it by 12%, we're going to be catching up close to what the averages are. But obviously, this doesn't mean that we're gonna. Well, I'm not saying that we should charge 12% just to catch up with the rest of the communities.
Right.
I think I just wanted to present this just on the flip side of the coin. If 4.5 is what's it going to look like if we charge over the 4.5? And obviously, we're catching up a little bit as far as in comparison to the other communities. So again, 12% is a sizable increase, but it is what we need to do in order to catch up as far as average goes. And the last set of data that I wanted to show are just the collection rates for Comstar for FY23. And this data is directly from Comstar itself, so I like to think that it's pretty accurate. So as far as collection rates go, we've got a pretty healthy collection rate of 91%, which I think is spectacular as far, considering that it's an ambulance service. Obviously, Medicare, Medicaid, big portions of that. Private insurance as well is pretty good collection at 90%. And sort of what's going to drag down the average there is the self-pay. Self-pay includes folks that are obviously uninsured and folks that, they still haven't paid their out-of-pocket. So that includes the folks that are under self-pay. Collection rate for that one is just 30%. So you look at the grand total, 84. That's a really good rate, and I got the sense that this is really good collection rates for Comstar compared to other communities and things like that. So again, as far as recommendations go, 4.5 is what it is. But I just wanted to show the flip side of what it would look like charging at a higher rate. And obviously the collections data is pretty important. As far as the variables go that go into the collection, obviously that it's the individual's ability to pay. So obviously Medicare and Medicaid, those are going to be a big part, and then obviously the pay is going to be a little bit lower than that. So that's it as far as the presentation goes. So that's it.
So Kyle, that was a great way to show the presentation rather than the memo. I really appreciate you putting together the high level facts. I think, and John, you can correct you can help jog my memory here, but we've always, we always have been comfortable being a little below the market. Is that correct?
That is correct. And
Right.
I think what this is showing though, Robin, is that we've the cumulative effect of being a little bit behind and a little bit behind and a little bit behind is now we're a lot behind.
Right.
And
So-
so I'm sorry.
Right. No, I agree with you. I was just going to have a comment. You know what was interesting to me that Southern Maine, the increase was 5.2%. Did you notice that in
I
the memo that was
Yep.
included?
I just went to go back, but we're still on Kyle's screen.
Okay. So Kyle, that was one of my questions. Do you know, and you may not know, and that's perfectly fine. Do you know why there's a variation in the Medicare rates? Either you or Carl? Most of them are really close, with the exception of Southern Maine, which is sort of surprising.
I don't. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, I know Medicare does set different rates for different regions
Okay,
of the country. So
Right.
you see that just in Massachusetts with Boston and
right.
the rest of it. Some states like Connecticut have other regulatory issues going on.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the case with Southern Maine or not, but I do know Medicare does vary depending on whether you're a high cost area or not.
Okay. I was just curious. John, I would be willing to increase the rates slightly above the 4.5%, just to try and catch up a little bit. It's not really a profit center for the town,
No.
and it shouldn't be. It's a service that we provide to citizens. So on the flip side, I'm then comfortable with where we're at, just increasing it by the 4.5%. I know you do have some expertise in this area sitting on the board.
I do.
Right.
So
Do you have any insights?
yeah, I was on the same trajectory, Robin, that you're on, and the simple math was 5.5% is what I was going to suggest. And by getting what happens is if we continue on the trajectory that we're on, I'm sure Kyle can do a little bit more math on this, just plug it into the same spreadsheet that he has. If you put in 5%, you'll see that you'll catch up. You won't catch up completely. We'd have to do significant increases year after year, or as Kyle just suggested, we would have to do three
One
times
time.
3 times the rate at 12%. So right now, and that's probably not something we would want to do, and it's probably not something that anybody has the appetite to do. But I would suggest a 5.5% increase, Robin.
Okay, I think your observation that we keep falling behind, I see that too. And, we're not trying to make this a profit center. We just want to make sure that we're somewhere in the ballpark of the market. We're still below market. So I would support an increase of 5.5%. So I can move to increase the current ambulance rates by 5.5% for 2024.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Hi, John Jeffries.
Thank you, Kyle.
Excuse me.
Thank you, guys.
All right. The next item of business is a vote regarding the conservation restriction on land at Strawberry Hill. It's assessor's parcel 7-26-B. And I guess at the November 29th meeting of Concom. They voted to approve and accept the Dover Land Trust conservation restriction on 11.75 acres of land on Strawberry Hill. And it's the parcel again, 7-26-B. And the Conservation Commission is recommending that the selectmen approve the grant of the conservation restriction. As always, I mean, I believe we really appreciate the work of the Dover Land Trust. This is a very nice parcel of land. I believe it's the Blake, it's close, it is the Blake Fields and Woodlands. Is that correct, Mike?
Let me just check that. Yes, that's correct.
And it does have proximity to existing conservation land and trails. So again, you know, it gives the public additional access to some of the open space. So I am clearly in favor of accepting this conservation restriction and appreciate the work of the Dover Land Trust and the Conservation Commission to continue to conserve land. They, you know, as we all know, open space is really important to the town of Dover. So John, do you have any comments?
No, I have none. Just thank everybody for their work. And I've ridden, walked on that spot on the land. The access into Nonet and into Hale is spectacular. There's a really well marked trail that goes essentially along the blue. If you can scroll down to the map that's got in my screen, the pink highlights the blue or the green outline of the Blake property, and then the white piece that's protected. It's just a beautiful property, and as you'll see, and I'm sure DA can expand to, it goes, the access is spectacular right into the properties.
Right, and you know, there was a tremendous amount of work to actually acquire the Blake property and then also to put the conservation restriction in it. So again, there are a lot of people working really hard to continue to acquire and put conservation restrictions on key parcels of land so that we can connect all of our open space for passive enjoyment or passive recreation. So it's very much appreciated. So with that, I'm going to move to approve the conservation restriction from the Dover Land Conservation Trust to the town of Dover, acting by and through the Dover Conservation Commission on 11.75 acres of land on Strawberry Hill, assesses parcel ID 7-26-B.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, Robin Hunter.
Hi, John Jeffries.
Okay. And moving right along, the next item on the agenda, and somehow I lost my agenda. Oh, here it is. So we are now going to, oh, wow, we're moving along really fast. The Board of Selectmen updates. So I will start. I have spent quite a bit of time with the warrant committee, and we decided yesterday evening that we were going to pull together a very small working group. The working group is me, a member of the warrant committee who would either be Cam or Melissa, Mike Blanchard, and Carl, to make sure that we have a comprehensive and cohesive presentation of the budget that can be made first at the open hearing and then ultimately at town meeting. So Mike, Carl, and I met today to brainstorm on the budget presentation or what we wanted to see. We were basically leveraging a lot of the work that was done to the presentation that Mike made to the Warren Committee. That was a really good presentation, high level. We do have to pull out some of the drivers for the cost increase, but our goal is to bring everything together and try to have something that we can share with you, John, at a Board of Selectmen's meeting, maybe in the next couple of weeks. It's just really important for us to be able to present simply the budget and the cost drivers and the offsets to those cost drivers. I said at the Warren Committee, this is where I'm going to miss Bob Springett, because he had the ability, he would constantly say, Robin, keep it simple. So, I said I was going to channel my Bob Springett by trying to keep, things simple. And I think if we all have the same mission, which is we really need to be able to articulate at a high level what's driving the increases in the budget, how we're utilizing our cash reserves, how those are helping offset a larger increase in the tax rate. It's complicated, but I think there is a way to present this simply. So if we start now, by the time we get to the open hearing, I think we'll be in a much better place than we are. I was also really pleased, Dave, I know you were on the committee that put together guidelines for citizen-sponsored warrant articles. And so both citizen-sponsored warrant articles made a presentation to the Warren Committee, and there's work last night, there's work that needs to get done. So the Warren Committee assigned liaisons to each citizen petition, and they're going to work really closely, making sure that they have all the appropriate information and that they can articulate what they're asking for.
And,
So
and
I think
all the various boards' timelines. That's the other key.
Right. So, I was pleased to see that this wasn't just a policy on a piece of paper, but actually everybody is taking it seriously. The one item that there is a lot of confusion around, and that is the Park and Rec's rail trail warrant article. And Warrant was very confused. The question is, what is Park and Rec trying to achieve? Because there is a lot of misinformation. Somebody at Warrant said, my understanding is they're going to ask the town to enter into a lease agreement. And I said, if the town enters into a lease agreement, we're committing to build the rail trail. And we don't know how much that's going to cost. And we haven't gotten funding approved. So we really need to. So I was going to reach out to Chris Bolin and just talk to him about Park and Rec really refining what they're asking for, because there is a lot of misinformation, and it's still, I can see this still as an emotionally charged issue for the town. So we really need to understand what is the ask at town meeting. Again, we have 5 weeks to get to the open hearing, but then after the open hearing, there's still, you think you have time, but you don't have that much time. So I would really like to start working on refining a lot of the messaging with the idea that when we get to open hearing, we have a majority of the messaging already in place, but you know, we're going to need to refine it. So, you know, and I know, Chris, we had talked about, and you already put this in the newsletter, that there is going to be a link to all the warrant articles. So if we could maybe put a list up there of what they are and who sponsors there, and start populating it with information, that would be great. And I know we talked about doing like a couple of special digital newsletters around town meeting once we have more information. The other thing that I need to go back and address, because it has fallen in the wayside, is the housing task force. We moved very quickly, and then we came to a little bit of a standstill, primarily my problem. So we do need to go back and finalize our checklists, because I think that is really important that we do that. You know, we now know that Mass Housing has approved the Tisdale 2 or Red Robin 2 development. So we need to really, as a town, understand the process and make sure that we have all our ducks in a row, because there are valid concerns surrounding that development. Lastly, we have the Water Resource Committee has a meeting in February, and I believe we will finally be able to present to the town our report, which is, the town may recall at town meeting, we were given $100,000 to use for consulting, to look at what are potentially alternative water sources, what would the town need to do, what would the cost be to hook up to those alternative water sources. In addition to that, and the reason the analysis has taken longer than expected, once we started to pull that together, the one question kept coming up: what is the capacity of our aquifer? Is there a way to measure that? And so we were able to use some ARPA funds, and CDM Smith, our consultant, was able to do some modeling regarding the capacity of the aquifer. And we will see some preliminary results from that at our meeting. So it is really exciting. And once we do have the full report, the idea is to have some open sessions, you know, to discuss with the public what we did, what the outcome was, potentially even have CDM Smith attend some of those. You know, water is important to us. It's a very valuable resource. So we've had so much rain over the last couple of years that we forgot that 3 years ago we were really in drought conditions. So those are the things that I have been working on. I wake up in the middle of the night with heart palpitations because town meeting is just around the corner. So, and there's a lot of things on the warrant, and I just, you know, I think all of us want to make sure that the meeting is well organized and that information gets out to all citizens prior to the meeting. John, would you like to provide some of your updates?
Yes, absolutely. Just wanted to make sure you were done. Thank you very much. So, Robin, a couple of quick things before we get into the Town Financial Investment Working Group, I just want to cover open space meeting last night with the focus being on Hale, the CR. Most people will know that the Board of Selectmen promised to get the CR into the hands of all the committees to begin the process of vetting, the process of letting each committee, Conservation Committee, Open Space, the various groups within the town of Dover, and the groups that have the most impact on the conservation restriction to go through the CR. So DA, Rob Warren, the trustees of the reservation, joined us on open space and were really able to give lots of depth and clarity to the questions that were asked. There was a lot of give and take. So the meeting was very, very long, and the questions essentially from open space and the process of, as you just described, Robin, working backwards. So here we are today, and where we will be, and just as you said, it's right around the corner, but it's only months away, right? You think
Right.
May is a
It's
long way away.
scary.
May is not a long way away. May is going to be here before you know it. So
And there's a lot of work to do.
there's a lot of work to do. So the questions, Robin, no surprise, the questions from everybody on the call, which was quite a few people within open space, and as I said, DA, Rob, the folks who've put on a lot of time, energy, and effort into this, as well as our team, Michael, with our town council, were part of the call. So they focused on what I will begin with the three W's: Westwood, why is Westwood not a part of it? Water and the rights and the what ifs. And all of those things will require lots of vetting. Those are just the high level topics of where we are. We know a lot of the answers to many of these things. We've been educating people to the extent that is humanly possible, but there's going to be a lot of things that have to be done on their own, and people have to get there on their own, and they'll want to know, and they'll want to be reminded why these things have happened. So that is underway. Just a thanks to everybody who was on that call. Thanks to the people who always put the time and effort into these items and are helping us to prepare for town meeting, and specifically for all of the events leading up to town meeting. So that's Hale and that's open space. Additionally, Robin, yes.
John, quickly, do we have a timeline that we're trying to adhere to with respect to, because right now the conservation restriction is still not public. It's being vetted in executive session.
Yeah.
So do we have like a target date for when we hope to have the vetting completed so that we can make it available? Because, that's the one question everybody says, well, what does the CR look like? What are we getting for the $10 million? And I think until we're able to make the CR public and then have educational meetings on the CR, there's only so much education we can do, right?
The key to everything that you just said, Robin, is the CR. We have to, we can't work backwards until we have the CR. And the collective, most of the people who are on the call this evening are in agreement on the CR. It would be pointless, right? If we picked a date and we said, we're going to have the second town meeting, or the meeting, the focus town meeting on Hale, and pick a date, June 6th, right? That's just an arbitrary date. We thought we did it that way once before. We waited a month until after our May town meeting to hold a separate standalone town meeting, right? So that's how we've done it in the past. If we did that tonight, or if we did that last night, or if we did that last month, or if we did that in 2 weeks, and we didn't have consensus, and if we didn't have the consensus built around the CR, it would be literally a waste of time. It would be a waste of everybody's time
Right.
because we have to get that document and we have to get it in place. So in parallel to this, Robin, I today at 1 o'clock, I joined a Zoom call webinar that Hale has been putting out. So the trustees from Hale, together with Eric Arnold, together with the group surrounding the search committees for Hale, have made available the state of sort of a state of a union address of Hale, where they are, what they're doing. Very well done. Takes about a half hour. This is the third one. Today was the third one they're doing. Tonight, as we are speaking right now live, they are having a fourth one. So it is, we are trying very, very hard to stay on track to what Hale is also trying to do. They are moving heaven and earth to be able to do the process that they have, that they've committed to, that their trustees have committed to. We are trying to comply with all of those things. So the communication that Chris Dwelly and I started, and we, the Board of Selectmen, Robin, started years ago, and then through Michael and Michael's team, he continued, have been outstanding. There's been lots of open communication. We've kept each other informed at every turn. So we really have to give credit to Hale. We have to give credit to Michael, to Chris, to our team, to have done all the things right to get to this point, because it hasn't been easy. So we're going to keep that open channel. We're going to keep the lines of communication constantly open and let each other know, because as Eric Arnold said in his conversation with the state of Hale today, you have to be flexible. So you have to go into this with the mindset of we all want to get to yes, it has to be done correctly. So long-winded way of answering your question, Robin, but the answer is yes. We are mindful. We want to be on the same track. We just cannot commit to something we don't know yet. Make
Okay,
sense?
so critical path is getting all the input on the CR, and then, okay. And that makes, I'm in complete agreement. Because, you know, the way I look at this is we have one bite at the apple. So we want to make sure that all concerns are addressed to the best of our ability. At the end of the day, what the town needs to recognize was this was a negotiation. And in a negotiation, you don't get everything you want, but that's how you reach an agreement.
Michael, did you want to add something?
Yeah, so we'll talk obviously a little more executive session, but you know, the last piece of it is, you know, we reached a point with Hale where everyone was comfortable with the draft CR document going to our boards and committees.
Right.
You know, having met with them this week and next, we're collecting feedback, some of which we then next week is our last meeting with the planning board. We then will have to go back to Hale and do some further negotiation based on the comments and feedback we received. So some of the timeline will be dictated by that process.
Yeah.
But you know, in an ideal world, you know, we originally kind of mapped out starting some release and public information sessions even by the end of this month, beginning of March. But again, it'll just be dictated on what we go back to the negotiation table with after these executive sessions are complete.
Right.
Yeah, and there are items I thought, Robin, that were well spelled out by our legal team. There were things that they left out that I would have liked them to gone a lot deeper on. And I'm sure that there's reasons for that, as Michael just alluded to, and as you just alluded to, it's a negotiation process. And open space and planning and zoning have asked specifically about rights and water rights, and what Carol Lisbon and I, through many conversations, have called a plan B. If we don't get what we're looking for, how do we address those? I've been very mindful and aware of that. We really do want to come up with a solid plan and a plan B, because we all know that, as we've just described now a couple different ways, this is negotiation. You don't get everything you want. So I'm sure there's reasons why we left things out, or things were not focused, not in focus as much as I would have liked them to be. But you know, that's where we are right now. So Hail open space, the state of hail that takes place today. I really would encourage anyone who watches this tonight in the future to go and look at the video of those hail address the state of hail of where they are, because they're really well done and they do give a lot of information. So hail open space, where we are with that. One other item, Robin, is the financial management working committee. Dave Haviland, I, Kate Canny, we have been, Dave and Kate met with Kyle, met with the beginning process of meeting with the team to really educate them first and foremost. Between Dave, Kate, and I, we have 60, 70, 80 years of experience in this. We have a whole lot of experience, and Kyle and his team have to get up to speed with probably where we were 30 or 40 years ago. Dave, would you say that's accurate?
I think I know what you're saying. Poor Kyle. It's something that is not in his wheelhouse, yet the three of us and certainly hundreds of members of our town have expertise in managing money. And so we had a great meeting, and where we are right now is still in the information gathering stage. And what Kyle and Carl are going to start gathering are the actual documents of the larger pools of money. For instance, the Hubby Fund for the library, it's 620,000 plus or minus. And what does the document say about managing that money for the Hubby Fund? After that, then we're going to meet with the library and say, what are your expectations? What are your timelines? What are your risk tolerance? And what are your capital and or operating needs off the funds? And then we'll come up with a way to manage that with each large pool of money. And then we have our marching orders to go forth and make that happen. So it's just a good re-look. And again, some of the contracts are quite old. That doesn't mean they haven't been reviewed in the interim. It's just that the contracts are quite old. And a little bit of catch up, cleanup, and education. And it's all for the town of Dover. And Mike and I were chatting a little bit earlier today. And hey, if we can make a money market fund that's paying 50 basis points turn into 5%, that's good for the town. Why wouldn't we do this? So lots of good to come from it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, Kyle, it's so fortunate, he's a brand new treasurer and so lucky to have all of this expertise, and that the three of you are able to mentor him. It's going to be so valuable to him as he becomes a more seasoned treasurer. So.
Yeah,
Exactly. And he already kind of hinted that if this committee became permanent, it would be more than fine with him, because, again, if you've never been in the industry and you don't know a lot about it, I'll say, that we will act as his support group.
Right.
Yeah.
Advisors, right.
Yeah. We're trying, Robin, to understand what we can unbundle. There are many things that have slipped into a catch-all, if you will, through the town. It's a function of municipal finance where things just happen automatically that are left to their own devices. Oftentimes that can be beneficial for the town, and sometimes that can be a glaring negative. And so what we're, as Dave alluded to, I believe last week or 2 weeks ago, what we're trying to do is to first and foremost teach Kyle what belongs in each bucket, what can be moved to different buckets, and what that entails. There are things that have very significant cost and fees that we should not be paying for, and we're going to move those things immediately. So And that's, you know, that's just a Kyle learning curve. So we're going to address that, and Dave and Kate are going to be extraordinarily helpful on this. So
Right. Well, it's also, you know, as I always say in my day job, it's good to look at things again and again and again, because you can always do things better. You see things you never saw the time before. And, you know, for those citizens listening to this call, there's no need to be alarmed. Mass general law is very specific on what you can do. And this is more of a housekeeping exercise and making sure that we're not paying too much in fees for what we're really getting. So I look forward to, you know, periodic reports. And I know I bumped into Kyle, and I know he was extremely excited about the meeting that you had, and is looking forward to working with all of you. I have two quick additional updates, and then I'll turn it over to Mike because we're running a little behind schedule. So the 3 versus the 5 committee, I did reach out to them, and they are going to get on the agenda in March. They're going to be making a presentation to us with their recommendation for next steps and how they would like to take this project forward. And actually, I only had one more thing. So that was it on my agenda. And
one more for me, Robin, is I'll be
Okay.
meeting with the building committee on Monday night for the Dover Community Center.
right, I see the steel. I mean, they're really making progress.
Yeah.
Like you can
Well-
see the steel structures out there.
We haven't figured out if the steel structure, it's 100% going to be based upon naming rights and financial contributions, but we really think that the Hunter facility or the Hunter family has a great ring to it.
I'll let the Hunter family know.
I think it sounds really nice to be. I can see the sign above the Hunter Family Pavilion right next to the Lisbon Library. It's going to be fabulous.
All right. And so, excuse me, I'm all choked up. So Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Robin. Yeah, so I will be brief. One, because I know we have
Thank you.
some guests waiting, and two,
I know.
we've hit on a lot of things. So you know, as Robin and John both mentioned, we continue to work on the warrant and the operating capital budgets because, as you said, town meeting will be here before we know it. I did attend the warrant committee meeting last week, and you know, as Robin mentioned, we're strategizing on a presentation for open hearing. You know, again, we'll be talking about Hale some more in executive session. It's been a whirlwind. We've I think as of next week, we have another meeting of our working group. Late next week, we'll have 10 meetings in 3 weeks. So that's been great, but it's been a lot. Robin mentioned the PEL letter, the project eligibility letter from the Tisdale Drive Apartments. Sometimes the public refers to it as Red Robin 2. We have shared that letter with our housing task force and also with abutters that have reached out. We asked the Tisdale Condo Association to send that to their members. And the key piece is, if the public is watching at this point, you know, there really is no further action. The next step is on the developer to file a comprehensive permit application with the Zoning Board of Appeals. And then at that point, there is a public hearing process that not only boards, committees, and departments participate, but the public at large, including the abutters. So, you know, that can take some time. It's not something that'll happen tomorrow. It's a pretty comprehensive package they have to put together, but we will keep the public updated, you know, as that moves forward. We've already talked about Chief Incy, but that was a real honor to kind of MC that swearing in and pinning ceremony. Another chief, our fire chief, that's with mixed emotions, that he informed us that he's going to be retiring as of April 1st after 40 years of service to the Dover Fire Department. I've only worked with Paul for a real short time, but he's just been a real great asset to me in my onboarding. He's been just so dedicated. It's such a unique environment. It's the first time I've ever worked with a call department, and there's so many unique challenges there that he's handled very well. So we're happy for him, but sad for us. And I have talked with the Board of Fire Engineers and offered them any assistance that we could provide during this transition. And then lastly, just related to the fire engineers, Ford Spalding's last meeting was this Monday. I popped over just to wish him well. He was first appointed in 1992. So it's a tough loss
Wow.
for the Board of Fire Engineers, the community center, and just the town as a whole. So, we wish him well. Thank him for all he did for Dover.
Right. And I believe Ford was a firefighter prior to being on the Board of Fire Engineers.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. Dave, do you know if I'm lying, if I'm making stuff up?
Sorry, I don't know one way or the other.
Okay.
Robin, it sounds good. I'm going to go with it.
We'll go with it.
I'm pretty sure he was.
He lives in Westwood now. It's,
I mean, as Ford said, he's not going far and his grandkids are still here and we will be seeing him. So it's farewell, not goodbye. And we all have his cell number, so I can still meet him for breakfast. But he did so much for the town, really. It was always a pleasure working with him, and he was so passionate about Minuteman and passionate about the community center and a whole slew of other things. So as a town, we're very fortunate to have Ford and people like him who really enjoy devoting their time and giving back to the town. So the last item that we have here is the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is to approve a letter of support for the Trout Brook Culvert Replacement Grant and to approve the March 2nd and March 16th Board of Selectmen open meeting minutes. So what I will do is I will move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Seconded.
All in favor, I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, John Jeffries.
Okay, and so now what I will do is I will make a motion and I move that the board enter into executive session, not to return to open session